In September 2015, the international community embraced the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. There are 17 Sustainable Development Goals, but goal number 4 is specifically about education. World leaders gathered in New York and committed themselves to ensuring inclusive and equitable quality education and lifelong learning for all. Below that Sustainable Development Goal, there are 10 targets, the first of which is very important. World leaders committed themselves to ensuring that every girl and boy complete free primary and secondary education. However, since the development goals were embraced, what we've seen is an acceleration of the commercialisation and privatisation of education. Commentators around the world, researchers, academics, teachers, all believe that the commercialisation and privatisation of education represents the greatest threat to achieving the Sustainable Development Goal, which says, I'll repeat, inclusive and equitable quality and lifelong learning education for all, free primary and secondary education. The threat represented by the commercialisation and privatisation of education is such that we believe the Sustainable Development Goal cannot be met. It will not be met. And that is because of the entry of large global corporate actors who are seeking to commercialise and privatise education. They are driven by a profit motive. And when the profit motive prevails, it is our students, teachers and the communities we serve that are the first victims. When the profit motive prevails, what we see is the emergence of for-profit school operations, for-profit, seeking to exploit the aspirations of children and their family to achieve quality education, the right to education. When you put a fee on education to make profit, immediately you create a barrier of access for the poor, the marginalised and the most disadvantaged. A fee on education is not free primary and secondary education. Furthermore, when the profit motive prevails, what we see is the emergence of business models underpinned or driven by the desire to maximise those profits by employing unqualified staff. In schools around the world, by and large, teachers make up between 70 or 75% of a school budget. If you want to make a profit, what you do is you employ either fewer teachers, less qualified teachers, or unqualified staff. What you also do is you seek to standardise education. When you standardise education, you create economies of scale. And what we're seeing by some of these corporate actors is the standardisation of curriculum. Curriculum, for example, developed in the US, in Massachusetts, packaged and delivered in Kenya, in Uganda, in Nigeria. That curriculum is not sensitive to the cultural needs or the linguistic needs of local communities. That is not quality education. What we say is that governments must fulfil their obligation to properly fund quality education for all. They must introduce the legislative and financial frameworks necessary to achieve the Sustainable Development Goal of inclusive, equitable, quality, free education for all. Surely, every child deserves to be taught by a qualified teacher, delivering an engaging curriculum in facilities that are fit for purpose.